indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome all the residents who have come out tonight. You make these forms what they should be, a declaration of our democracy, and we most appreciate you coming out. Tonight's forum has been organized and conducted, I have to say personally, through the energies of a particular individual who will go unnamed at this point in time, but who's a member of a very special association of neighborhoods, organizations that have, under his aegis, been doing this for a while. And those organizations are the Fleetwood Citizen Society, Chester Hill Neighbors Association, and the Fleetwood Neighborhood Association as such. And we want to give them a round of applause for And in terms of talking about possibilities, facilities are sometimes very hard to come by. So we want to thank our hosts tonight, Liz Ferreira and the Portuguese American Club, who graciously made us. And it's a tremendous civic duty, so we have to be very thankful for that. The objective for our forum this evening is to help Mount Vernon make informed decisions about electing our next 3 Mount Vernon City Council members. I want to introduce our timekeeper who came in at the last minute and is going to say the grace, Karen Sachi. And I'm just going to see you. Introduce our moderators for this evening, Karen and Dr. Karen, want to raise your hand, stand up. And this is Ann Washington. Now, the candidates will have an opportunity to introduce themselves in a moment as we begin the questioning period. And at his reluctance, I'm going to force him to make this transition, and we're going to have John come up and give us some directions for those introductions and such.
You're supposed to only write this stuff, not talk about it. Okay. Question is why the 3 groups that we mentioned. All candidates will be asked going from the right to the left. Andre Rawls will start off with introducing himself and knowing why he should be city council person. The first person will be Gleason. She'll follow through and just keep rotating. Each person will go first. The first person is going to be the last person. The reason you sit the way you are, you all went to White Plains and pick a number, or someone picked it for you. This is the order that you'll be on the line, people will know 3A, 4A, but it's most important that you know your face with what line you're on. We have 2 moderators that will be asking questions, they'll alternate questions for you. If you don't understand the question you ask, you will have 2 minutes to answer it, starting from when you first start your answer. You get a reminder for a little bell that you have 15 seconds left. In 2 minutes, you're going to get banged and a bell. You got to stop. You're going to want those 7 people. You want to have an opportunity. The open statement will be 2 minutes. Questions will be 2 minutes. Everything will be 2 minutes. Now, if any of the moderators feel the question hasn't been addressed, they will interrupt the candidate and in response and reread the question. The time for that will not be extended. It's still within that 2 minutes. Any questions about these instructions? Okay. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Good evening. We're going to open up the forum with opening statements. As you heard, each candidate has 2 minutes to speak. We will begin with candidate number 1, Andre Wallace, for opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the Portuguese Club for having us and all the legal organizations, Freedom Society, and Chester Heights, and everybody that's here tonight, because I see that it's important to you because you are here, and you could be someplace else doing something else. So I thank you all for being here and being able to hear us out, so that way you can pick your new council people. My name is Andre Wallace. I'm running on line 3A. I was once the city council member before. I'm running again, so I was also city council president, and then I moved up. I was also the former mayor of the city of Mount Vernon. So some of you may know me, some of you may not know me. But I'd just like to let you know that I'm here to work with others and make sure that we move our city forward. I've been in Mount Vernon 40 years, this 28th of June. So I've been around and I've been here, and I understand the challenges, but I also understand the potential of where we can go as a city. But to get there, we're gonna have to do it all together. We pay the highest taxes in the United States, and we get the least amount for it. This is an opportunity for us to turn this around. But what it takes is to have the right people in the right positions, doing the right job to make it work. And I think I'm your man for that. I've proven myself when I was in city council. I've proven myself when I was a mayor. The 4 months I've done more than a lot of people have done in 4 years, maybe even 10 years. But I know where the problems are, I know where the issues are, and I'm here to work with others to solve them. Also, I also know our financial situation as well. Is that to stop now? Okay, 15 seconds. But I do understand the city, I understand the financial situation, I understand we're over $500 million in debt. And if we don't do something to turn it around, we are going to be into bankruptcy. Andre Wallace, 3A. Thank you.
First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank all the organizations that are involved to put this together. It's a huge thank you to Ms. Ferreira and the Portuguese American Club for hosting us tonight. My name is Councilwoman Caitlin Gleason, and I'm proud to say I was born and raised right here in Mount Vernon. I come before you today not just as an elected official, but as your neighbor, your sister in service, and a lifelong member of this community. Long before I ever held public office, I was already doing the work, serving meals, mentoring youth, advocating for seniors, and speaking up for public safety. I've never waited for a title to do the right thing. As president of the largest soup kitchen in Mount Vernon, we serve over 100 meals every night, Tuesday through Friday, because no one in our city should ever go hungry. I've been a fierce advocate for our youth and our seniors, because they're the roots of the future of this city. I've made tough decisions with an extremely tight city budget, never to create chaos, but to build real lasting progress through collaboration, not conflict. I believe in accessible, community-minded leadership. I believe in showing up, listening, and working side by side with you. And I believe in public service, not politics as usual. On Tuesday, June 24th, I'm asking for your vote. I'm the only incumbent running for Mount Vernon City Council, and I'm 4A on the ballot. If you want someone whose only special interest is you, the people of Mount Vernon, then I humbly ask you for your support and your prayers. I thank you for this opportunity to address you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tanisha Walters, and like my colleagues, I'd like to thank Ms. Ferreira and the Portuguese Club, and also the other organizations that's responsible for tonight's debate. Thank you to the community that's here to listen to us, to assess our qualifications and assess if we are the best person to vote for in this election. I'm running for City Council because Mount Vernon is long overdue for accountable, effective leadership that puts people first. I've lived here for 17 years. I've served as the city clerk. I hold a law degree and a master's in public administration. And these are just not titles. Thank you. These are just not titles, but they are used to serve this community. I know how City Hall works and how it needs to work to be better. Our streets are crumbling. Our youth lack opportunities. Too many residents feel forgotten. I'm running to fix what's broken and fight for what's possible. That means safe, clean neighborhoods, youth programs that prevent violence before it starts, senior programs that stimulates the cognitive and physical abilities of our seniors, funding for childcare and transportation so families can work and thrive, real investment in housing, job, and economic development. I will bring transparency to the budget, hold departments accountable, and if you know me, I've worked in City Hall and I've held departments accountable. Hold departments accountable and make sure every voice is heard because City Hall should serve the people, not itself. This isn't just about politics, it's about pride in our blocks, our business, our schools, and each other. Please vote 5A for a better way. Thank you.
Good evening. Before my time starts, I would like to announce that while I am here, my mind is somewhere else right now. We had a tragic incident happen today with one of our very own DPW workers, Juan Peralta. He was hurt during his job this afternoon, and I'm sorry, I'm very close to him, and I ask everyone to please keep the family and friends in prayers because we all need it very much this evening. He kept our cities beautiful for many years, provided service to the city, and I'm just distraught this evening. Thank you. I want to thank the Portuguese Club for giving us the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Elvira Castillo, also known as Elvira. My mother and I and my brother immigrated from the Dominican Republic, and we came here looking for a better life. I am a single mother of two who went through the school system right here in the city of Mount Vernon. And I am a grandmother, I am a homeowner, a small business owner. And I fell in love with this city 36 years ago when I fell in love with its diversity. The fact that I was able to walk to a supermarket, a movie theater, restaurants, we have a diner. Unfortunately, all of that is non-existent today. I am running for city council because I know that this city can be a great city. We can bring its vitality back, and we need to do this together. Because when a community rises, we all rise. So I am here today to humbly ask for your support for city council. Again, my name is Elvira Castillo. I'm 60. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Turnquest-Jones, row 7A. I would like to thank you for being here tonight. As stakeholders, I know how important it is for us to be present. I am a 56-year-old resident of Mount Vernon. I am the second-generation homeowner of the home that I am in. My mom and dad are Belizean and Bahamian, and we believe in economic development, as well as I do. 16 years ago, my godson was murdered on the streets of Mount Vernon, and that caused me to realize that health matters in Mount Vernon, because at that time, when he was rushed to Mount Vernon Hospital, they could not serve him, and when he went to Jacoby, he did not make it. That started my task here in Mount Vernon, in regards to gun violence, and in regards to our girls learning. So for the last 9 years, I've been hosting Let Girls Learn Days here in Mount Vernon, because they too had to learn how to manage money, how to build economy here in Mount Vernon. I know that we have a tax issue in Mount Vernon and a concern, and that concern goes hand in hand with the development and lack of development here in Mount Vernon. vacant lots are not being used how they should be used. We need to work together in Mount Vernon. That's how I was taught growing up here in Mount Vernon. My sons attended the schools here in Mount Vernon, and my husband and I do not plan on leaving Mount Vernon. My name is Cynthia Turnquist Jones. My number is 7A. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Master Giorgio, and I am 8A on the ballot. First and foremost, I want to thank the Fleetwood Citizens Society for hosting this event and the Portuguese Club for welcoming us into their space. I thank you. I was born and raised in Mount Vernon, and my family has been here for over 100 years. And my father, myself, my grandfather, and many other family members have spent our lives serving the city of Mount Vernon in one way or another. Mount Vernon is a city with a legacy that shines far beyond its borders. From the legendary Denzel Washington and the groundbreaking music of Heavy D to Olympic gold, Roz Benjamin, and the excellence of Ben Gordon, this city has produced greatness in every generation. It's no surprise because Mount Vernon is special. We're a city with heart, hustle, and history. But for all the greatness that's come from Mount Vernon, we are nowhere near reaching our full potential. We are a city rich in culture, talent, and opportunity, but we've been held back by mismanagement, political favoritism, and decisions that serve special interests instead of the people. And that's why I'm running. I'm running on a platform rooted in fairness, accountability, and transparency because Mount Vernon deserves leadership that puts the residents first. We need to restore public safety by properly staffing and supporting our police and fire departments. We need to revitalize our economy, especially downtown areas like 4th Avenue and Prospect Avenue, by supporting small businesses and ending the misuse of tax-free pilot giveaways to wealthy developers while your taxes rise up. We need to invest in our infrastructure and our crumbling roads, and we need to demand fiscal responsibility and stop reckless spending. And most importantly, return honest governance to City Hall. I'm proud to be part of a slate of candidates that believe Mount Vernon belongs to all of us, not the few at the top. Nick Master Giorgio, Road 8A.
Hello, my neighbors. I'm Bill Schwartz. I'm the new guy on the block. I feel so comfortable here because this is no different than the meetings that we have with our people in the neighborhood. We all understand what's wrong right now concerning our city in Mount Vernon. I've been here for 25 years. I've raised 2 children. I take care of my elderly neighbor. We take care of our children. I think it's time for one of us to get into City Hall so we can bring to light what we need as a community, as residents. I've been watching administration after administration after administration, and it seems like they're getting further and further away from us. I think we need to bring this back to checks and balances. Everybody here at this podium brings their own knowledge, brings their own experience. But right now, all that experience has not done us well. So I think right now, at this time, this election, we need to bring our residents into City Hall so we can have our voices heard. Traveling around, talking to everybody, signing signatures, putting out palm cards. We need to be closer to us. So when we get into City Hall as council president, we can make a real difference because we know how it hurts. It just seems like they've gotten away from our hurt. And I plan on bringing this back. I'm Bill Schwartz. I'm 9A, running for City Council.
Thank you all. Question number 1. This question is, residents are not happy about our elected officials who decided to increase their salary by between 45% and 52%, and hiding the fact for their salary. Of course, we were given, residents, a tax increase. Tell us, what would we expect from you? The first person for this question is Caitlin Gleason.
Yes, I voted for the salary increases for the leadership of the city of Mount Vernon. And I think that it's been a long time since any of those increases were given to leadership. I understand the fiscal responsibility that carries, but we're also trying to attract good people into the city government. And I stand behind my decision to vote for it.
Tanisha Walters.
Okay, thank you. So, I was the city clerk during this time when, the tax increase, I'm sorry, not the tax increase, when there was an increase for the council salary. What I say is, during the time and even now, we're going through financial straits.
You have a microphone, but you still have to speak loud.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay, wonderful. All right, so I have to say, if I was the city council, I would not call for an increase, right? We were going through financial difficulty, and we're still going through financial difficulty. The bunch of the burden, financial burden is on the citizens, right? On the homeowners who pay property taxes. With me as a city council member, you would see total transparency. If there was such an increase that was being considered, the public would know, the public would participate, right? There has to be a referendum. Does the public have the right for us to hold off this information or this increase for 45 days while the public come in and give comments, right? The public is owed that. So most certainly you will get transparency, total transparency from my being on the council, and public input would be definitely at the forefront of my tenure.
Elvira Castillo.
Hi, yes, thank you for the question. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. I cannot speak on behalf of the city council members who made the decision to give themselves a salary increase. I am also not against salary increase if it's done correctly. I can only speak for myself. I think everyone deserves a raise. And I am sure that they had their reasons for doing so. I was affected just like everyone here was affected with our taxes. And I know how difficult it is for everyone to make ends meet nowadays. As a city council member, I am a big advocate of transparency and accountability. I think that promotes trust. And so, once I'm in city council, I will make sure that everyone receives proper notice of what's going on, what's to come, because everyone should be informed of everything that's happening in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Turnquest.
The way that the way that I am interpreting that question is that there is a need or was a lack of transparency to the stakeholders here in Mount Vernon. One of the goals in the charge of a council member is to make sure that policy is transparent, that we craft policy as well. We have to also make sure that there are options for our stakeholders to sit in on decisions that are being made. Better communication is needed. As traveling around and getting signatures, stakeholders have mentioned that they sometimes don't even know what's going on. Yes, we have information that is online, but not everyone is an online individual. As a council member, I will become a part of different organizations such as churches so that the word can get out and that they can also have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Mastro, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm used to it. Thank you for the question. Look, as a former union president, I'd be a real hypocrite if I said people don't deserve pay raises. I've screamed about it for years. The issue with the pay raises that were received by the mayor, the comptroller, the council, and the department heads in the city is that there was no transparency. It wasn't that there was an option for people to come and have public discussion about those raises. They were hidden from the public in a contingency fund used for emergency purposes. And it was underhanded the way that was done. Had I been on the council, knowing the intention of what they were hiding that money for, I would have screamed about it at the top of my lungs and let people know. Because that wasn't right, okay? The same city that had no problem telling me time and time again that there wasn't money for police officers or firemen, hid their own raises in a fund used for emergencies and then transferred to my While out there campaigning and getting signatures, I've been asked time and time again if I would be for rolling back those salaries. I have no problem doing that because I'm not here to make money. I'm here to stay.
Bill Swartz.
You know, as a worker, imagine any one of us goes to our boss and say, hey, 40% raise, please. Imagine that. If we're good at our job, we don't get more than 4 or 5%. We don't. So it's a little bit cray-cray that you say you need to get 40% plus. It just doesn't work out for our city. How is that putting us first? How is it? It's not. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about what they do. And what they do is not right for us, ever.
I would have to agree with what Nick Master Giorgio had said and explained because it is 100% correct. When I went to City Hall the first time, and as I'm attempting to go back, I've always told everybody, I'm not going there to get a job, I'm going to do a job. The money never meant anything to me, it still doesn't. And I agree with rolling it back. I told them that I don't even believe people should get more than $10,000 on city council to cover your expenses. It's about doing what's right for the city. I have a corporation, and I'm a union guy. My employees are mostly union, and we don't get a raise like that. Each year we'll see a little raise. It might be 25 cents, might be 50 cents an hour. It is never 45%, because just imagine if somebody's making $100,000 and we're making 140. Raises need to be performance-based. If you are performing, then you can say something. But when you're not, and we're in a city, and I read the financial reports all the time, when I look at it and we're up to just up to 2019 in the audits, and you see that we're $303 million, and we didn't even get to 2025 yet, in debt of long-term liability as well, how can you even take a raise? You should be actually thinking about what can you do to get back, because that is why we are there. And that is why I'm going back to be there, to do the same thing, to make sure that the people come first. And that's how it's supposed to be. Government for the people, by the people. And I don't think the people would have allowed this raise under these circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. We're going to move on to question number 2. Where do you stand on the proposed charter revision that would take Mount Vernon from strong mayor government, where the mayor appoints the commissions and oversees the city departments, to a council manager form of government with a city manager system, and why? We'll begin with candidate Tanisha Walters.
Thank you. So interesting that I get to answer this question. Okay, it's so interesting that I get to answer this question first. When the Charter Review Commission was reorganized, I was part of that process in organizing and working with the council and the mayor in getting the members on the Charter Review Commission. And I've worked with the Charter Review Commission members until I left City Hall. I agree with the weak mayor system, so that's the question. I agree because I believe with the weak mayor system, when we have a city manager in place, the city's manager's sole job is to make sure that the city is operating correctly, and there's no political motivation behind it. Whereas when you have the mayor involved, that strong mayor system, the mayor is politically served, right? There will be room for corruption or tainting of her duties. And so having the commissioners being appointed by the mayor, who is a political figure, you know, there's room for hiring people that are not qualified for a position, right? The people that lack the credentials to be a strong leader in that department and to have the city improve successfully. So I am definitely for the weak mayor.
And now we'll hear from Elvira Castillo.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for the question. I believe that the people will have an opportunity to choose whether they want a city manager or a strong mayor comes this November. And I don't have too much information on that, so I am not, thank you for clarifying, Tanisha. I know that our job will remain the same. I know that we need to do our checks and balance, whether it's the strong mayor or a city manager. Our job, our duty remains the same. So it will be definitely up to the people comes November to decide which way they would like the city to continue. So that's where I stand with that. Thank you for the question.
And now we'll hear from Cynthia Turnquist.
I currently know that a strong mayor is in Mount Vernon, Yonkers, and White Plains. The rest have the same kind of thing that the charter wants to bring in. But what I also know, which is the last part of what I want to say, is that the city council will then pick the mayor, and the city council also holds accountable the mayor. The job of the city council person remains the same regardless of the person being a weak mayor or a strong mayor. And in that aspect, as a council member, have to remember what we are here to do, which is to make sure that the policy is uplifted and that we do what we're supposed to do. I know I said that already, but I'm saying it again. So basically, just understand that the council will then be making different decisions than what they made before in the aspects of a weak or a strong mayor. Thank you. Say it again. I heard somebody.
I think we're.
No, I was just saying they should probably ask a question, I think, because the question was.
I'll read the question again. Where do you stand on the proposed charter revision that would take Mount Vernon from strong mayor government, where the mayor appoints the commissions and oversees the city departments, to a council manager form of government with a city manager system in mind. Now we'll hear from Nick Mastrogiorgio.
On the issue of the Charter Review Commission's proposal for the November ballot to have a city manager system of government, I happen to be very much in favor of a city manager form of government. The reason why is you look around like corporations in America. They're governed by a board of directors and they appoint a CEO. And that CEO answers to not only the people, but that board of directors. And that's what the council and the mayor would be. The mayor would be reduced almost to a super council member type position. And they would be able to take the city manager out if they're doing a poor job, or keep them there forever if they're doing a great job, like the CEO of any corporation. And I look towards New Rochelle, where my last 2 years of high school, I went to Blessed Sacrament. And that area around Blessed Sacrament, Division Street, New Rochelle, when I was in high school, looked a lot like 4th Avenue does today. And 4th Avenue looked a lot like 4th Avenue did back then as well. The difference is there's a ton of development in New Rochelle. There's restaurants and movie theaters, bowling alleys, and all of that was accomplished with that city manager type of government. And I would love to see something like that in Mount Vernon 20 years from now. So I'm for it.
Now we'll hear from Bill Schwartz.
Yes. As of how it stands today, no, I wouldn't allow the mayor to run the school charter system. We have to come up with a better system that's actually for the children. What's best for the children? We pay the most taxes to the school for the children. And it's not up to par. It's not where it should be. We should have an independent outside person come in. And with the city council, we can correct what's wrong or what's right as we move on. This whole city council is for correction. Things are broken. We need correction. When we can do this with the majority, we can do what's right for us. So, like you asked, no, we haven't made it right.
I'm going to read the question one more time. Where do you stand on the proposed charter revision that would take Mount Vernon from strong mayor government, where the mayor appoints the commissions and oversees the city departments, to a council manager form of government with a city manager system, and why? The next candidate up would be Andre Wallace.
Okay, I had an opportunity to see what's going on in the charter revision and stuff when I visit them to see that. I don't think the system is broken. I don't think leaving and going to from a strong mayor to going to a city manager is going to make a big difference. Because if we don't choose the right people to put in office, we're going to have the same problem. Because you're looking at people that saying, hey, the city council is going to be able to appoint it. We back at the same problem. We're going to have the same thing when we say we're going to have the mayor also team up and choose somebody. It's going to be the same problem. What's going to stop them from choosing the wrong person that we don't have the opportunity to choose? You know, I saw it the same thing they're trying to do for the controller, where they want the controller to be appointed as well. Who's to say that appointing a controller is not going to be the bad controller that's going to be a friend of somebody else that went to school with? We already have a friends and family system going on in Mount Vernon. The system is not broken. It worked for over 100 years. What is broken is how we choose to vote blindly without knowing who has the proper qualifications to be in the office to do the job that needs to be done for you. And if we continue to keep on voting because somebody's my friend or somebody was dating Pookie or somebody's this one's cousin, we are never going to get where we gotta go. And New Rochelle, yes, they have a strong mayor system, and I see you know, it works for them. But when people say they're talking about other development going in there, the same people, RXR, that is developing downtown in New Rochelle, is the same people that I brought here that was supposed to develop in our downtown. They went to New Rochelle because after 3 meetings and then having to meet with an administration, they figured that we are not ready for it. And the reason why we were not ready for it is because we don't have the right people in there, and people don't want to be tortured by corruption or, you know, those kind of problems. That's it.
We now have Kate releasing. Where do you stand on proposed charter revision that would take Mount Vernon from strong mayor government, where the mayor appoints the commissions and oversees the city departments, to a city council manager form of government with the city manager system, and why?
Okay, so I support a strong mayor system, I do. And I think that the branches of government that we have in place, the executive, the legislative, and the financial arm of the government is already the checks and balances for the board.
Well said.
As it pertains to the people choose. You're basically taking that out of the people's hands if you give it to a city manager. And just like Andre Wallace said, you know, if you have 5 wrong people in place in city council, it could go in a completely different direction. So there are pros and cons of both forms of government. I'm just in favor of a strong mayor. I've seen it work really well when you have the 3 factions of government working together and collaborating, and I've seen progress. It's not to say that we're not a work in progress. Not everything is perfect. We're doing our best. We're working very hard to make this city look better than it looked 2 years ago, 4 years ago. We've brought a lot of financial help into the city of Mount Vernon for our infrastructure, you know, and I think that has a lot to do with our strong mayor making connections throughout the country and coming to us and presenting it to city council. So, I'm in favor of a strong mayor system.
Thank you. Our next question: how will you ensure the citizens of Mount Vernon that money won't go missing as happened previously? How do you plan to manage the city's budget more effectively to ensure the city's financial health? And this, the first person I'm requesting, Elvira Castillo.
Thank you for the question. I just want to also remind all the citizens here that with a city manager comes a larger salary, which will also we will have to find money in the budget, which will increase our taxes, and I don't think any of us want that as well. As far as the budget, as you know, based on what I've heard in the past, is that a lot of the times the budget comes in late or we're not ready. There's a lot of process that goes when putting a budget together. The mayor has to have a draft budget first. She has to plug in all the numbers. And then she has to send it to the
Take your time, take your time.
Thank you. My mind is somewhere else, I'm sorry. To the Board of Estimates, which they then sit and put in the numbers, have the public hearings. So all that takes a while. I know that once I'm in city council, we need to make sure that all the numbers are where they need to be. Obviously, we cannot increase anything in the budget, but we need to make sure that the money is spent properly, that there's accountability, that we are all informed. As city council members, we will hold public hearings as well, so that you're all informed and involved. And definitely, transparency and accountability is very important. when putting together a budget and going through the budget.
Thank you. I'm going to read the question one more time. How will you assure the citizens of Mount Vernon that money won't go missing as happened previously? How do you plan to manage the city's budget more effectively to ensure the city's physical health? And next, Cynthia Turnquest, please.
How do you ensure that money does not go missing? I know that there are policies in place and that the comptroller did his job in being transparent in the aspects of what happened with the monies that went missing. He held various town hall meetings, which is something that a council member needs to make sure that they are a part of the town hall meetings with the comptroller and including the mayor. So that transparency can be a part of Mount Vernon. If a person does not share what is going on in the budget and what is going on as to what went missing, we would have never known that something was missing. So there is some type of transparency that is going on. But maybe we didn't understand what was going on. But it was meant to understand because there was a town hall meeting held at the Dole Center breaking down what went missing and why it went missing. So how do I ensure that that doesn't happen? I don't know if I can ensure that money doesn't go missing, but I can definitely ensure that there is transparency and connecting with the stakeholders here in Mount Vernon so that you can hear what is going on as well as understand what is taking place. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Mastro, Junior Joe.
You're getting better. You know, it's hard to say, right? How do you ensure money doesn't go missing? People are always coming up with new and creative ways to steal money. So what we can do is when there is a failure, we need to investigate that failure. We need to find out exactly what happened. Transparency, in my opinion, isn't having a town hall meeting where we hear one side of the story. Part of the powers of the city council is to conduct investigations, and they have subpoena powers to bring department heads and people in the city into the council to interview and find answers for ourselves. As a council member, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that the people running the different departments in the city are doing it the right way. And that's how we manage the budget as well. Certain monies are brought to a public forum, approved by the council, approved at the Board of Estimate, and budget lines are made for different departments. Council members are assigned to committees that oversee different departments, and it's on the council member to actually go in and make sure that those budgets are being followed and that those line items are being maintained properly. So that's how I would do my best to ensure that money doesn't go missing and that the budget is managed properly.
Yes. On this campaign, we need campaign funds. 2 people signed. We need to implement that with the controller. Let's hire a CPA who's experienced in dealing with the frauds of the world. We need a CPA. We need a forensic CPA who watches our money diligently. 2 people sign on to make sure it's checks and balances, not just one way.
Thank you.
It's easy. When I was in office, I used to ask the controller for a quarterly report. I knew what the budget was because I worked on every one of those budgets along with the controller. What we have to understand is when you put a budget together, you have to stick within the budget because that is what we told the taxpayers that they are going to spend for the year. When we ran the city on $106 million. Today we're running on $160 million, and the services is less. So the money's going someplace, and that's something I gotta figure out, but I will look into it. But we always know what the budget is, and through quarterly reports that you can actually get on the spending and the income of the city through the controller should tell you everything. That is how I was able to put a corporate counsel in jail. That's how I was able to recover $1 million for the water department hidden. That's how I was able to make sure that 11 cops that weren't doing their job was removed. It just goes on, the list goes on. If you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking at, I look at budgets every day. I'm in the construction and development business. My company, we don't handle $150 million, but we do handle about $50 million. And I look at every check that goes out, every piece of invoice that comes in. That's why we have commissioners assigned to things, to make sure that they keep their departments running within that budget. And that is how we turn around so we can know what it is. And then those commissioners would have to report back. And as a councilman, we can ask them anything we want, and we can ask how they're spending it, and we need to look at where they're spending it. Because that is very important, because that is all of our money. That is nobody's money to be messing with, nobody's money to be spending how they wish and choose. I know a lot of people also complained about, a lot of things and checks and stuff, bills not getting paid. Well, bills weren't getting paid because there was no money there. Because people had spent outside their budget. It is city council's job to make sure that we keep accountability to all of this kind of stuff, and you will find all the missing money will start to reappear. Thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin Gleason?
Thank you so much for that question. So I think one of the things that we do have in place now is electronic authentication. When money went missing from the comptroller's office, they were notified right away and they mitigated the situation as soon as possible. With that being said, we do get monthly financial reports from the comptroller's office. It's something that I'm very grateful for because I look line by line, not just within my committee. I go all over, whether it be recreation, fire department, police department, what have you. Contact the commissioners, I sit down and I talk to them to make sure that they stay within their budget lines. One of the other things I wanted to mention was, it will be a lot easier to identify where money is being spent once all the audits are completed. Within the last 3 years, we've gotten audits completed at a rapid pace. Once those audits are completed, reconciliations on a monthly basis will be a lot more complete, where we can see where there could be something, whether it be in the wrong line item or what have you. As of right now, there has not been, except for the situation with the comptroller, and those authentications have been put in place. And they were in place, and that's why the notifications were sent. I think that if we do a multifaceted authentication and continue doing that, it'll be easier, and once all the audits are done and they do the monthly reconciliations of the bank accounts, that's the only thing I can tell you that I think will be the best bet. I mean, I know everybody on city council, whether it pertains to their committee or not, they go through the monthly financial report on a regular basis, so.
Tanisha Walters?
Okay, thank you. So how will you ensure the city money won't go missing, right? So to prevent the city money from not going missing, we can put financial protocols in place, right? As the electronic authentication, as Councilwoman Gleason spoke about. However, we have to put like a 3-prong, 2-prong, 4-prong process in place where it's not just the controller who is authorized to wire the money. Before it gets to the controller, who's the head, there has to be the CPA or the deputy commissioner or whomever looking at the request coming in first, right? After the request comes in, there has to be a first person that looks at the request, send it off to a second person, a third person, and then the financial controller. Also, why isn't there a security like firewall in the financial department? It should be more security firewall in the financial department than the entire city hall. Not saying that there's not firewall on our computers in city hall, right? We have to also consider, are we using using our personal cell phones and computers when we are working on city business, or are we using city computers and property? We must always use, because we open ourselves up to fraud and misuse when we are transferring back and forth from our personal computer, working on city business, and using the city computers. So there has to be a strict rule and a strict adherence to using city property to work with, to work on city work, and not our personal property, because we're not protected with our personal property. And you should expect, how do we plan to manage the budget?
I'm so sorry, time is up. Thank you all for your responses. We're going to move on to question number 4. Major zoning variances are being brought by developers to the City Council. Explain your position addressing these rezoning requests. I'll do it again. Major zoning variances are being brought by developers to the City Council. Explain your position addressing these rezoning requests. We're going to begin with candidate Cynthia Turnquist.
Can you repeat it one more time?
Sure. Major zoning variances are being brought by developers to the City Council. Explain your position addressing these rezoning requests.
I would have to look at and sit down with those in the aspects of rezoning, because I am not an expert in that field.
Thank you. We'll now have Nick Mastro Giorgio.
Well, without knowing the exact variances that are being brought forth for rezoning, it's hard to really give a definitive answer on what my position is on them. I would say this: any rezoning that was brought before me, I would have to look into, and I'd like to see analytics and what it's going to bring to the city, what it's going to do for the people. I wouldn't be for approving any kind of rezoning unless I knew it was going to benefit the people in Mount Vernon and not just benefit different developers. So again, without knowing specifically what zoning changes that we're talking about, I would just have to say on a case-by-case basis, I would want to make sure that whatever we're looking at, whatever we're discussing, whatever we're approving, benefits the people of Mount Vernon, benefits the economy of Mount Vernon, and is right for to grow our city.
Next, we'll have Bill Schwartz.
I gotta agree with that. We have too many pilot programs coming into the city that doesn't pay taxes. We're gonna rezone these areas for them not to pay taxes. It doesn't make no sense. In all experience in the world, it doesn't make sense. So, you know, we have to take it as it comes. We have nothing to offer. These big buildings coming in, no place to shop. Why are you rezoning when we can't bring money into Mount Vernon when it goes up the Bronx Road, goes to Yonkers, goes everywhere else took but to us? Rezoning shouldn't be on the table right now until we bring money into Mount Vernon and see how we can build ourselves up first.
Next, we'll have Andre Wallace.
I have a problem with rezoning, spot zoning, overlays, because I've seen how they worked in the past. I've seen how, instead of waiting for a full comprehensive plan to go through so that we can plot out our city the proper way, I see them do a lot of those things so that they can put up these affordable housing and certain things so that developers can make the money that they want to make and leave the city, leaving us with the tax burden and the over the bag. We have to focus on a true comprehensive plan and make sure that we get that done right. And then from there we can build, because now we build buildings where they shouldn't be, in areas that should be more or less other type of buildings and not low-income buildings, in sections where we can manage and make money, but we're not, because we're doing it the wrong way. Right now, I would like to see actually a whole feasibility study on what all of these homes that they're putting up with all these pilots are doing for us. I would want a feasibility study to show how our money is. And before you put up a building, and before you put up one of these local income buildings in our community, tell me how it's gonna make money for the taxpayers. I see all the time they talk about it's bringing X amount of jobs. Yes, you fool the people because most of those jobs that you bring in are for construction workers. And those construction workers that you hire from companies outside of our city. So tell me how are we benefiting from those kind of things? This is the problem I have, and that's the problem I have with these zoning changes and quick spot zoning and overlays. Because it is killing us, and we are terrible in debt because of it. So we need to change that, and we need to focus on what is right. Just get the comprehensive plan correct, get it out there, and let people start to look at that and build the city the way it's supposed to be built. Thank you.
Next we'll have Caitlin Gleason.
Can you read the question again, please?
Sure. Major zoning variances are being brought by developers to the city council. Explain your position addressing these rezoning requests.
Okay, first and foremost, I kind of agree with Nick, without knowing which particular project you're referring to, I'm not quite sure, but the rezoning, we've started the comprehensive plan, and we're almost finished with the comprehensive plan. That'll be a couple of months away. I'd invite all the council candidates to read through the first division deck to understand the direction that we're going. What we did was we went out into the community to find out what they wanted in the different areas throughout these 4 square miles. With doing that, the comprehensive plan team is putting together the whole comprehensive plan, and will be done within the next couple of months. With that being said, that will pretty much make recommendations on what areas should have certain zoning, what areas will basically, what's the word I'm looking for? What should be historic, what should be preserved, what open green spaces we should have, what areas should be kept industrial, what areas should have housing. We do have a housing crisis in the city of Mount Vernon, whether people want to realize it or not. Okay, I think everybody should have a place to live, whatever your income level is. I think that we absolutely have to evaluate it once it comes to council. So with that being said, the comprehensive plan is only a few months away. Okay, I invite everybody, like I said, to look at the vision deck and see the direction it's going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Tanisha Walters.
Thank you. So, in reviewing the zoning variances, right, brought by developers, yes, we're working along with the comprehensive plan, but we don't want to rush the comprehensive plan in order to put a building in an area that may call for it, right? So we have to look at how the environment change. First of all, it's going to be all hands on deck, right? We're going to work with the planning department, the ARB board, the ZBA board. They have to do an assessment and give us their feedback on if this is environmentally safe, and is this an area that calls for a mixed-use building or some sort of rezoning that will definitely benefit that area while also working along with the comprehensive plan. Because the more we delay and wait for the comprehensive plan and rush the comprehensive plan because we want to have the information there, it's delaying us from making any revenue for the city, right? So we can work alongside the comprehensive plan while getting the assessment from the pertinent departments that's there for that purpose.
Thank you. Next we'll have Elvira Castillo.
Yes. First and foremost, zoning variances are the reasons that tells us that a certain development is not as of right buildable in that area. And that costs the developers time, money, and it just holds the city in a on a stop. So the comprehensive plan, which is very old, it has not been revised for a very long time. Phase 1 was already adopted. Phase 2 is ready to go to City Council for approval, for its final review and approval. And I am hopeful and very positive that this comprehensive plan will be done and put in effect this year so that it will allow us to attract business into the city that will allow us to produce jobs, housing, like our city council member said, Gleason. There's a lot of need, there's a lot of development that needs to be done here in the city. And with the comprehensive plan in place, it would allow us to know where these buildings or industrial areas should be. I also want to thank a lot of the citizens here that participated and were part of the comprehensive plan, because we need to be part of it. It's our city, and we need to know where we want certain green space or where we want the industrial areas to go. We are a very lucky city to have three trains, Metro North. Not too many cities have that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. The IDA, which is the Industrial Development Agency, has been giving away pilots which deprive the city of the necessary tax dollars to supply the needed services. What is your perspective on pilots? How will you balance the budget considering the loss of income from the current pilots? And this question is going to start out with Nick Mastro Giorgio.
Well, I don't think it's any secret to anybody in this room that I am very much against the pilots that have been put up all over the city of Mount Vernon. You know, one of the things is the loss of revenue from a pilot, from a tax-free development, bringing in more residents into our city, is sometimes offset in other places like White Plains and New Rochelle with sales tax dollar revenues. And the one issue I have in Mount Vernon is the fact that our residents here don't spend their tax dollars in Mount Vernon. So for me, I'd like to see more development of retail space and commercial space where we can actually spend our tax dollars in our city. You know, there's not many places to go out to eat, or to go out for a drink, or to go out bowling, or watch a movie. And that's the kind of stuff we need in Mount Vernon, so we can generate more revenue. And then it might make sense to do a tax-free development where it's costing us a few $1 million, but those people, the influx of people in the city are spending their money here. Right now, we're giving away these tax-free developments. We're adding people to the city. We're making the job harder for the police department, the fire department, the DPW. We're putting a strain on our already very strained sewer system. And we're not receiving any money to help increase any of those services to the people. So my immediate stance on pilots, while they could be necessary in the right circumstances, is we need to stop giving away those pilots now and focus on economic development before we start bringing more people into our city.
The next, Bill Swartz.
Yes, I'm as well as against pilot program. We can't keep building these buildings with no taxes. At the city address, as I was sitting there, I hear this grandeur thing about a youth center with no taxes coming to the city. I had to share something with you neighbors, but that big youth center we're going to have to pay for because they're not paying their taxes. And like I said, it's an overburden on our sewer system with the police department. Look, we had 3 schools closed down. How many children go in that building and go to the schools that's overwhelmed already? Pilot programs isn't one of the things that we need. We need tax dollars. We need someplace to shop. We need someplace. Oh, we don't have a supermarket over in Fleetwood. Why? But we have another pilot building going up. We should not any longer put in pilot programs until we establish a tax income generating city. No more pilots, at least not for now. Maybe we can put it up at another time. But we need $300 million in the hole. You think we need some taxes here? $300 million plus and claim. No more pilot program. I would not vote for it.
Yes, just to add to what Bill says, that's $303 million. As of 2019, we are now about $680 million in debt. Just to give you the numbers. But pilots and the IDA is just what it means. Industrial Development Agency. It's how we use the pilots. Pilots are not bad, but we need to use those pilots for business. So if you want to track buildings and stuff, or that's fine, but that doesn't work for us. We already have put up enough buildings in Mount Vernon. See, the problem we have is we just let our industrial areas decline and leave. And if something closed down, we say, oh, let's quickly put up a low-income housing. Because the developers and all the people that prove these things make a lot of money and walk away with it, leaving us with the bag. See, the problem is 88% of our taxes are paid by the homeowners. Only 12% is paid by business in Mount Vernon, which businesses carry a higher utilization tax that will help us to develop and to pay for programs. Right now, we are just bringing in customers, I call it. And the reason why I say that is because we build these things and we build these houses, we bring these people in, but I already checked. They're not spending the money here. We learned that back in 2017 when myself and Thomas did a big study. $397 million a year is spent for people inside Mount Vernon, outside Mount Vernon. So the problem we're having is nobody's spending here because we're not using the IDA in the proper way to create commercial development that creates jobs for livable wages, that creates spending because now they have money, but they need to spend it in our community. That's what we need to focus on. That's what's going to make it change. Pilots, let the rest of Westchester and everybody else take their fair share. We got enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain Gleason?
Thank you so much. I am not a fan of pilots for housing. I never have been, never will be. If there was some sort of mixed use with the housing where there was businesses underneath that could collect sales tax to augment what the pilot was, what the agreement with the pilot was, maybe I would consider it. I think the pilot should be used for bringing industry into the city. I believe pilots should be used for, if we wanted to, the downtown development of 4th Avenue, I would consider a pilot for that. But we don't get to vote on it. City Council does not have any purview over pilots. This would just be our opinion. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that. City Council does not have any control over that. The IDA has complete control over whether pilots are given out to businesses, or given out to housing, or given out to industrial, or given out to commercial. Right now, to advocate for a pilot, if I had to advocate, would be for industrial, commercial, anything that would augment, if they had any type of sales tax, workforce development, anything that could benefit the city in a way that a pilot, could be used for. Like I said, with workforce development and industrial development, commercial development. If they wanted to take a whole area, a section of Mount Vernon, and said, hey, we're going to give pilots to 4th Avenue and help the existing businesses that are hurting, the brick and mortars. I would totally be in support of that, but I can only advocate for it. I don't have a vote when it comes to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanisha Walker.
I'm prepared this time. Okay, so as Councilwoman Gleason states, the City Council does not approve nor vote for pilots, right? I know IDA is governed by General Municipal Code, Article 18. Ask me how I remember this, I don't know, right? But if the City Council doesn't approve pilots, right? Now the question then becomes, can the council indirectly influence the pilot, the IDA, to make the right decisions, right? And yes, they can, right? The IDA is made up of 5 members, right? And it's supposed to be a corporate public member board. It's totally appointed by the mayor. So I believe the mayor's on it, the corporation council, the controller, I don't remember who the other person is, but one of the persons has to be from the corporate side. Who is that person? We don't know. The council can be involved in getting that last person, right? Speaking with the mayor, ask the mayor to give them some influence in getting that other person, correct? And so, how would that make our decision or the people's decision work for the pilot? IDAs are supposed to be industrial development agencies. Currently, IDAs are only giving pilots away to buildings and residential buildings, right? Where is the industrial development aspects of it, right? In lieu of pilots, there can be other incentives. Have we looked into that? Have the idea looked into other incentives in lieu of, is that my time? Okay. In lieu of a pilot program. So definitely the council doesn't approve pilots, but we can be an indirect influence to what goes on, what the decisions are made in who get pilots and what incentive is given in lieu of pilots.
Thank you. Elvira Castillo.
Yes, thank you. Payment in lieu of taxes affects our services. It affects our fire, police, our schools. And while they have a very negative, a lot of people think that pilots are negative. There are some good pilots. If a pilot is structured properly, it can certainly benefit the city. There's something that the city adopted, which is called UTEP, which is a uniform tax exemption policy that actually the developer has to give an impact analysis of how this pilot is affecting our citizens. And that it's published, it's public, where everyone can take a look at it and decide whether or not this is a good pilot or not. I also agree on mixed use. We cannot totally dismiss a pilot because there are instances where if a hotel comes in to Sanford Boulevard, not only is it bringing jobs, it's bringing a lot of benefit to the city. It's bringing other people to come in and have foot traffic and bring in money into our city. Again, please excuse my mind is really elsewhere because it happened today. But no, I am not in favor of bad pilots. I am pro good pilot, a pilot that's structured well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the UTEP that Elvira is talking about actually comes from the New York State Comptroller's Office. The reason why UTEP is in place is because of the bad services of pilots. There are good pilots, there are bad pilots. We need a pilot that makes sure that it meets the needs of Mount Vernon. So Sanford Boulevard is the example of pilots, Best Buy and Target, right? And so pilots are give and take. So are pilots good? Some are. Are pilots bad? Some are. If you look at our different municipalities that we often compare ourselves to, they have pilots. And pilots do work when they work the correct way. So under the New York City Comptroller, New York State Comptroller, what is in place is the give and take and the back and forth of creating a pilot, and will this pilot meet Mount Vernon's needs, right? Last but not least, I want to make sure that you understand that with with the UTEP, you have transparency that takes place, which is what suffers from pilots that are not good, and you also have accountability, and also the comptroller has in place where they are looking at that budget before that pilot is accepted in the city of where that pilot is going to come into, such as Mount Vernon. So am I in favor of a pilot? I'm in favor of good pilots. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Was that the question?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Thank you all for your responses. We're going to move on to question number 6. Bronxville and most cities' parking meter end at 7 p.m. What can you do to have Mount Vernon also end at 7 p.m. instead of at 8 p.m.? We will begin with candidate Bill Schwartz.
That's great for all of us, because I'm tired of getting tickets, as well as most of us do. But we're going to have to generate more taxes before we say we're gonna cut the meter off. Because right now, we need all the money we need to get in Mount Vernon. I would love to cut it off at 7 o'clock, but how are we going to replace it? What are we going to do to generate revenue to the city to offset that? I think that there's other things that we need to focus on to generate tens of millions of dollars to the city of Mount Vernon, not quarters. Not quarters. I know it's a quality of life thing, you know. We have streets messed up, we have branches falling down. We need money. And saving on meters, I don't think that's at the top priority. I think that's something that we need to discuss a little later. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Andre Wallace.
It's easy to do. We legislate it.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Okay? Taking an hour off and making it 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock is not going to kill us in prices. When I was there, I purchased, went along with Maureen, I pushed the purchase for a tow truck that has been sitting in the garage for 7 years, would have probably got about 5 miles on it because it's never been used. Why are we not towing cars? Instead of getting the taxing and double taxation on the people of the city of Mount Vernon that's already overtaxed, why are we not catching the people that just made 4 U-turns right there in front of the U-turn sign while I was picking up a slice of pizza? Why are we not taking the right people? But what we did instead, and when I was in office, I changed the street signs too. I made it go from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. The big fight with other folks was, hey, we're not going to be able to ticket the homeowners and the people because they're going to have time to move their car. Well, let me tell you something, okay? It's not about moving the car or ticketing somebody. It's to get the street cleaned. It's not to mess up their quality of life. It's not for Miss Jones to come out, jockey around for 30 minutes looking for a parking space, run back in her house, take a shower, finish up with her kids, and then run back out at 8:45 to move her car and drive to work. Well, then why not just make it 9 o'clock? Why not bring the meters down so that we can end up having more of this? Well, we don't have a lot of restaurants, so that's another story. But people can park and they can go into stores, shop, do other things. We are nickel and diming the taxpayers here in the wrong way when there is so much money to make. When I bought that tow truck and all, New York City at the time was making $870 million a year in towing cars. I figured that if we had 2 tow trucks, we should be able to make $8 million. So there is plenty of ways to make money other than nickel and diming people for quarters. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Counsel Gleason.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I would absolutely look into what the financial burden is to the city, if there is one, for that whole hour. That I would like to look at the finances first to see. I wouldn't be opposed to it, and Councilman Wallace said it right. You know, we would have to be the ones to legislate for the city council, but I'm not opposed to it.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Tanisha Walters.
Okay, thank you. And I want to agree with Counsel Gleason and also Andre Wallace. It's as easy as drafting legislation and having it approved by the 5 council members in order to get that 1 hour down from 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. But again, assessing how much that would, well, how much revenue that would be taken away from the city, I don't see enough revenue being generated within that 1 hour, not to alleviate that financial burden from the residents, right? We can definitely put that revenue income from somewhere else. Take, for example, the businesses, right? The businesses put their garbage out when it's not time to put in their garbage out. Why aren't we fining those businesses? Is it DPW's responsibility to go out and give tickets to the businesses? You know, why aren't there being fines on those businesses? Landlords put their garbage out. They're not putting their garbage out in the time that they should put their garbage out. So I think we should focus on private carriers. I live in an apartment building where the private carriers are not abiding by the laws of the charter. They come all different hours of the night. Why aren't we giving them tickets, right? Why aren't we pursuing these private carriers? So we can definitely eliminate the 1 hour and put that revenue source somewhere else. I say we start going at the businesses. The businesses can definitely get some fines for not adhering to rules and regulations because they're coming lawless.
Thank you. Elvira Castillo?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question, and I totally agree with how easy it is to put legislation of this kind in place. However, a lot of times we put legislation in place and it's often not carried through. It's not enforced. So I think this is minor. I think we have bigger issues to look into and to worry about. I don't think an hour of a meter's time is a concern for all the things that we have to fix and change here in the city. So that's how I feel about that. That's minor. I think we should really concentrate on continuing fixing our streets. I've driven through the city and I found street lights, traffic lights that need to be addressed. And again, it's just useless to put legislation in place if it's not going to be enforced. I, for instance, rushed thinking, oh my God, I forgot to put a quarter in the meter, and it had passed an hour because I didn't get a ticket. You go to Yonkers, a second past your meter, you have a ticket in place. So we really need to concentrate on these things because this is what's going to increase our tax base and bring money into the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Cynthia Tranquez.
So when it comes to legislation, I agree with my fellow panelists. But I live on Seneca Avenue, which is around the corner from Sanford Boulevard. And there is a legislation in place with ticketing trucks, commercial vehicles that are there after a certain hour. But the trucks take the ticket. They rather pay for the ticket price. The reason for that is because we do not have the type of truck that we need to tow an 18-wheeler truck. We do not have a place to put the 18-wheeler truck once we tow them. If you take a drive up and down Sanford Boulevard, round about now, they should be parking their trucks along there. That's because in the Bronx, over by the cemetery, when you get on the Major Deegan, they started going through there and towing people and making sure that that fine was very high. So the legislation and the aspects of our trucks or commercial vehicles, that fee needs to increase. We need to also have conversations with our enforcement and ask them, is there a reason why, not is there a reason why, but a conversation with them. Let's talk about it. Let's see how you see it. The last thing I want to talk about is like this area right here, because I catch the train to go to work. And while we were out and we were meeting and greeting people, saying, hi, how you doing? My name is Cynthia Turnquest. Can you please sign this? I got a lot of people that were from Pelham, but but they're not paying a price because they don't live here in Mount Vernon. So maybe we should also look into permits for those who live in Mount Vernon for parking, and we should start capitalizing on the parking lots that we have around here that other people from other municipalities are coming for. Thank you. My name is Cynthia Turnquist.
Thank you. Next we'll have Nick Mastrogiorgio.
Well, like everybody here touched upon, it's a very simple fix if that's what the people want, if that'll make people's lives better. For the record, Mayor Wallace, I am a big fan of the 9 a.m. start. As a recent retiree, I've been sleeping a little later. Get that back. We have to take that back. One of the things we need to do is modernize the parking system. When you go to White Plains, the reason why, or Yonkers, the reason why you get a ticket 5 minutes after your meter expires is because it's all computerized. And the meter maids know that the meter expired. They probably rush right over there and write a ticket. Okay, so cutting an hour out is a simple fix. It'll make lives easier for people if they're trying to go shopping or eating. But first we need to develop the business district so they can do that. Also, the amount of revenue lost, everyone here touched upon it, can be easily made up by things like code enforcement and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm all for it, and I'm all for anything that'll make people's lives better. In fact, as a person that lives in Fleetwood, where parking is, I'm speaking to someone today, and I think they mentioned that there is a half a parking spot available for each domicile in the city of Mount Vernon. And nobody knows that better than people that live in Fleetwood or from Terrace Avenue. And so I'd be in favor of even switching the 4 to 7 parking in the middle of the night to alternate street so the people in those buildings have a place to park and the street can still get cleaned pretty regularly.
Okay, thank you for your responses. The next question, what's your plan to attract businesses and create jobs in Mount Vernon, especially for small businesses? And we'll start with Andre Wallace.
Okay, first to attract small businesses or any kind of business, we're gonna have to clean up Mount Vernon. No one is going to invest in a place where they can't make money. Right now, the city, I talk to people all the time and they say they don't even come to Mount Vernon because it's scary. Until we change our city in the way of doing things, people are a product of their environment. We want the people's attitudes and to change the environment, clean the place up. Make sure that the city looks good. Make sure that somebody looking from outside looking in sees something that they want to invest in. Right now, we're not making it easy for people to invest in because basically our crime is out of control. It's not being solved. There's a whole lot of things going on here. Garbage pickup. It's getting better, but the streets are dirty. The streets are filthy. Right now, what happens with this whole thing with our city is that we're not holding anybody accountable. And we know that everybody, even looking at it, if we want to instill behavior modification or something like that, showing people how to do it, we don't even need to do that because they know. And you know how I know? Because when they go into Pelham, they don't do it. When they go into Bronxville, they don't do it. When they go to Eastchester, they don't do it. But when they come to Mount Vernon, they do it. It's because it's acceptable. And it will always continue to be acceptable until we get together and stop accepting it. This is the only way to raise the environment, create the curb appeal that other people from outside can look at and see. And once they see that, then, and only then, they're going to want to invest here. And see, I still say the same thing, and people can go do the research. I brought RNXR here to do the development here in our downtown Mount Vernon, and I still think I can bring other companies here to do that. That's what we need though, but we have to put things in place first to make sure that people are not afraid to invest in Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, for businesses who want to come into Mount Vernon, you want to have a clean and safe environment to come to. I think investment in public safety, investment in our Department of Public Works. Also, New York State's got a downtown revitalization initiative that they're putting out. The city of Mount Vernon has already applied for it. We're waiting to hear what the next round, whether we're entitled to get it. Also, I think enforcement is a very big issue here in the city of Mount Vernon. I think we all have witnessed that, right? We have to have enforcement of double parked cars. We gotta have enforcement of people who are not cleaning up in front of their businesses. We have to have enforcement of parking. We also have to make sure that our parking garages are able to be used. And I think that how we can do that is going to a public-private partnership, because right now people are not comfortable going into our public parking structures. Also, another thing, like I really believe through City Council, we created the economic task force. That economic task force is comprised of a bunch of people to make recommendations to the city on what they think should be done to bring economic development. Economic development is not just bringing a big housing structure, it's workforce development, it's supporting our current store owners, seeing what they need, and like I said, the downtown revitalization would do that. And also giving tax incentives. Giving them tax incentives in areas that are basically burdened and, you know, not built up. Try and do something like that to make it where you have an area that you give the tax incentive to, like we had years ago. What else? I mean, clean and safe. We have to, you know, invest in our police, our state, our DPW, and, you know, have more training for our enforcement officers.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, to touch on some of the things that my colleagues already touched on, I would say 4th Avenue and Gramerton Avenue corridors are the main attraction for businesses, right? But if you look at 4th Avenue and Gramerton Avenue, they are in desperate need of being cleaned up, looking attractive, being, you know, pretty. How can we help the current businesses to address their needs, right? Some businesses are struggling, but they want to keep open for the community. Can we provide them with some grant to clean up their business, to have the avenue look pretty? I remember when Mayor Davis was in office, he wanted to put some lamps on 4th Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, right? How can we beautify the corridors, right, the main corridors, to attract new business through public safety, through adequate parking, right? I am a strong advocate in providing support to the police department, providing support through the auxiliary police. We already complained that we don't have enough police officers. Well, we have the auxiliary police. Why don't we fully train them up so they can be boots on the ground? I know that's your favorite song. They can be boots on the ground in the business districts, right? So people can feel safe. They can see a uniformed officer in place. They can be out patronizing the businesses, right? That's how we will attract more businesses coming in, and also giving access to people getting the jobs that they need.
Thank you. Elvira,
Yes, thank you. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes, what's your plan to attract businesses and create jobs in Mount Vernon, especially for small business owners?
Okay. As a small business owner myself, and being a realtor, and I have sold lots of homes and have rented close business to people that want to start a business. I think safety is very important. I think that the process of the buildings department is a big factor on whether or not they're attracted to coming into Mount Vernon. A lot of the times it takes a very, very long time for any type of permit to take place. So I think that we have to certainly work on that. Tax incentives are good. Safety is important for people that are coming in from other areas. As they drive through the city and they see that these storefronts are closed, collecting dust, they're wondering what's going on and why would I want to come in and open up a business here? How long would I stay open? So we need to clean up the area. 4th Avenue is a wonderful place to shop, but there's a lot of closed stores that just gives a negative vibe to those that are even thinking of coming into Mount Vernon. So there's a lot of work to be done, it's the only way to attract business is to make the city a safer place. Lighting is important Again, we also have the parking situation, which it's a big problem here in Mount Vernon, and we have to be mindful of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Conquest?
This is a really good question. I know that accountability comes in first. We have to remember that waste, energy, health, and water attracts investments. Sophisticated small businesses is what we're looking for. There's a brother by the name of Oscar Davis who talks about the rats in the area that he lives in. That means that his area is a rat mitigated zone. What do you do with rats? You can give them birth control, or you can use a specific way on how they cannot continually produce. But you have to address it. I don't know if you say hello to them when you address it, but you have to address it. We need sit-down restaurants as well. One of my sorority sisters owns a Chick-fil-A. The Chick-fil-A is in Brooklyn. She lives in Mount Vernon. She didn't pick where Chick-fil-A laid its head to birth. Chick-fil-A picked where they wanted to open up at. So what are we going to do to start that happening, where a Chick-fil-A will pick us, right? We have to make an environmental impact, and that also starts with our children in our schools. They need to know what climate action is. They need to understand what sustainability future is. We also need to make sure that we continue with the green community that we have here in Mount Vernon. I live on Seneca Avenue, I walk around, there's a lot of green grass, there's a lot of flowers, there's a lot of people who have green thumbs. We need to make that an epidemic. Last but not least, we need a local climate action plan. And everyone needs to be a part of it. I know everyone is an absolute, but we need to be a part of the action plan and need to know what that is in order to attract businesses to come here to Money Earning Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick Master Giorgio?
Perfectly. Everyone here pretty much touched on it. You know, we need to make our streets safer, right? We have to invest in our police department. We have to keep our officers here so they can know our business owners, and business owners can feel safe operating their businesses here. Parking is a huge issue. We've already discussed that. We have to find ways to clean up the parking lot. The lot numbers, I'm terrible as a cop, I should be ashamed, but the lot right off Gramerton Avenue, where we have people living in it. We just cleaned it up the other day. People are afraid to park in that lot and come out and shop on Gramerton Avenue. We have to clean that up and make it accessible to people. The building department is a mess and definitely keeps businesses out of Mount Vernon. I know from what I understand, the burger place in Fleetwood took 8 months to get a permit for their restaurant when the place was a restaurant prior to it being a burger place. That's unacceptable. You know, we shouldn't have businesses waiting that long to get a permit to operate their business here. We have to make the process more efficient. And we have to bring businesses in here and try to attract businesses that can help other businesses flourish. Things like a bowling alley or a movie theater where people are going to come here for a reason, an attraction, so to speak. Spend their money, then walk outside and maybe grab a drink with their girlfriend or dinner with the family. We need to create areas like that in our city, because once you have people coming here, look, we're 70 to 90,000 people packed into 4 square miles. There is no reason why a business wouldn't want to come here if we don't fix these minor issues. This is like a gold mine for any business. Can you imagine a bowling alley here or something? And then you build restaurants around that. They'd be some of the highest grossing businesses of their type in the area. So that's what we have to focus on to really get businesses to come here.
myself, I want to know about the wine bar, I found it absolutely impossible. Speaking to some of the business owners, they were complaining about the turnover in residents. If we can't keep us here, how is anybody going to do well? It's a struggle here. It's a struggle because of the streets, the sewer, the taxes, the unsafe. Everyone here on this panel pointed out everything that we need to do to bring in business. When do we do it? This is nothing new. Been here for 25 years. When do we do it? You know when we do it? We do it now. By voting for us on the city council. Bill Schwartz.
Thank you all for your responses. Our next question, how do you plan to tackle infrastructure challenges like potholes, flooding, and outdated sewer systems? Our first candidate will be Tanisha Walters.
Infrastructure challenges, for example, sewer.
I'll read it again.
Okay.
How do you plan to tackle infrastructure challenges like potholes, flooding, and outdated sewer systems?
Okay. So, potholes, right? We got some monies from the Governor Hochul. I think $150 million that should assist us in addressing these issues, right? DPW is out there fixing the street. They have a plan in place that they use to map out what roads they fix and what time do they go and address those potholes and issues. Are they doing it? Are they addressing all the potholes in a timely manner to the resident satisfaction? I don't know, because I've heard residents still complain that it looks like nothing is being done, right? So how do we address that? We stay on top of our DPW. We have meetings with DPW. We have meetings with the mayor and her staff to see what the process is and what the plans are in addressing the issue, right? We see government grants, right? Not only the grant that we got from Governor Hochul, but what other grants are available to us? What kind of monies do we have access to address the needs of our community? The outdated sewer system, how do we tackle that? We stop giving developers the go-ahead to develop any more properties. We cannot address our sewer system until we put a stopping on developing more properties. We are overburdened. Yes, there is a housing crisis, but we have to address the sewer system, and in order to do that, we must not encourage any more development.
Thank you. Next we'll have Elvira Castillo.
I agree with Tanisha. We certainly have a couple of issues. Flooding is a concern. Our sewers are outdated. We have been working with Con Ed, and I understand that there's been 40% of our streets that have been paved, and it's the way that it's done is when Con Ed comes in and starts working, the city comes in and takes a look at what needs to be repaired and takes advantage of that, and they work together. They're working together in collaboration. So I know our infrastructure still need a lot of work, and we need to look closely into our budget as to how we're going to move forward with that, and that will take some time and a lot of thinking and working together as a whole to make sure that the fundings are there and that we can continue to do the work that is needed here in the city.
Thank you. Next we'll have Cynthia Trinquist.
So I know that we cannot pay for this by ourselves. Therefore, we need to make sure that we have partners such as the federal government, working along with the mayor and council, the county and the state. Last but not least, Con Edison used to do construction and then just patch the hole. But currently, they're doing the entire block. That's how my block got done. Because Con Edison came, did some pipe work, and then because of them notifying the city that they were going to do some work, the city said, well, you need to make sure that you are doing curb-to-curb paving. The other information and the aspects of our infrastructure and things that need to be updated, I will have to look at that information, analyze it, and sit down with other colleagues to see how we can make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Nick Mastrogiorgio.
So, potholes, sidewalks, things like that are damaged. I think one way to ensure that those things get looked at and fixed easily is to come up with an efficient means, a system to report and track the issues reported by the people, right? So I was speaking to somebody else today who told me how much money we lose every year on sidewalk faults and things like that. Myself, I had a car damaged a couple of years ago from a city tree that was marked to be cut down, but hadn't been cut down, and it was marked for a few months. We need some kind of system in place to ensure that once something is reported, that it gets fixed right away. Because once it's reported, we then become liable for any damages caused by that. So I don't know if that's a software issue. I don't know what method is in place now, but as a council person and someone that may or may not oversee the DPW committee, it's something that has to be looked into. As far as the sewer systems go, Tanisha touched on it. We got to stop these big residential developments until we fix our sewer problem. But as critical as I am of a lot of things in the city of Mount Vernon, the city received a huge amount of money from the state government, and the DPW is doing a really good job, and they are on top of it, and they're working on the sewer problem. We just got to stop building and putting more strain on that system until they get the job done. I think that's the best way.
Next we'll hear from Bill Schwartz.
I'm a ground and pound guy. I speak with everybody. And I speak to all of the city's departments. There's not enough people to fix anything in Mount Vernon because the majority of the people that they hire stay in the office and don't want to go out and do it. So how are we supposed to fix the city if we don't have qualified workers? They said they have half of what they used to have. But the rest of them are all in the office collecting paychecks from being hired from whatever department's in the city. We get into it all starts with City Hall. It all ends with City Hall. When you can't do what's right, nothing gets done right. That's just the way it is. So you know what? We need to comprehensively hire people who can actually do the work on the streets. Whether it's sanitation, whether it's sewage, whether it's DPW, we need qualified workers out there to actually do the work. But if you don't put people in place, we can never get the work done. Thank you.
Next we'll have Andre Wallace.
It's not that hard to do things right. It's not that hard to fix things properly. You know that we have to do the streets with potholes. The problem is they fill the potholes and then 2 weeks later the potholes reappear because they don't do it right. You have to tamper that. You have to vibrate it. You have to put a vine on it and it won't come up. That's the problem. When we're out there putting asphalt in our streets that have concrete, that doesn't work. You saw a cut and you put it in the right way. That's how people do it. That's how I do it in the construction industry for years. That is the right way. When we go to our sewers, we shouldn't have that much to work on and stuff because we got $150-something million and the county is actually the one holding the money in a lot of it to get things done because they didn't trust Mount Vernon to do it the right way. So we have those in place. And then when you want to talk about flooding, the flooding is not a sewer problem. The flooding in Mount Vernon is a storm drain problem. And when I was mayor at that time, we did tie-dye testing in organizations, in businesses, and we went from store to store, and we dropped red dye in people's toilet to flush it to watch where it came out. And a lot of it came out in the storm drain because people are doing these basements and makeshift apartments and all these other things in restaurants and every place else. And what happens is they're tying it into our storm drain, which is the fresh water, which is why we got fined by the government for the water spilling out of the 7 outfalls that we have that goes into the Hutch and the Bronx River, because we're putting raw sewage in those things. All we have to do is continue to finish looking for those things and fix those things, find those people who have done those things that is causing us these problems, and just straighten it out. None of this is a hard fix. If you know what you're doing, it's very easy. And when we get there, we'll be able to do that. Thank you.
Next we'll have Kathleen Wilson.
It's actually Caitlin Lisa.
Sorry,
That's
Caitlin.
okay, that's all right. So, let's see here. Can you read the question again, please? So I get everything.
How do you plan to tackle infrastructure challenges like potholes, flooding, and outdated sewer systems?
Okay, so I think we touched on the potholes. I have to agree with Mr. Wells. Can I? Oh, can I have my time now?
Yeah, I stopped it.
All right, we're done?
I'll repeat the question for you. So how do you plan to tackle infrastructure challenges like potholes, flooding, and outdated sewer systems?
Okay, like I said, we touched on the potholes, we also touched on Con Ed. Con Ed no longer does, their spot asphalt, they go curb to curb from now on going forward. I think one thing that has been a problem over the course of the last few years is that our residents are having a problem making the complaints and then having the follow through from the different departments. I think that we have to build trust with the residents also to make sure that when they make those complaints, because our DPW can't be in every street of Mount Vernon. And even our workers that are assigned to those streets have to also learn that they have to report back that we have these potholes on these different streets so that they can be repaired. But the process, like Andre Wallace said, is absolutely the process. We have to invest in equipment, make sure that they have the right equipment when they go out to do these potholes. As it pertains to, I don't want to say sewer or storm drain. Let's say infrastructure altogether. We've already, when I was on planning board, one of the things that we made sure that we started to do is make sure that when developments came into Mount Vernon, that they sloped not just in front of the building where they were going to develop, but they went all the way out to the cross streets and to the means to make sure that the infrastructure that was in place was secure enough to substantiate the type of building that they would build. With that being said, they were to agree to replace whatever was there. Our city engineer would always be on the spot to watch this take place. Again, we got money from New York State. That's not enough. That money is not going to be enough to do what Mount Vernon needs to do to replace everything, but it is a step in the right direction. As it pertains to money, how do we fix this? We just have to stay on top of grant money, and any money that's coming out of New York State, doubt that we're going to have anything coming out of the federal government, but we have to just stay on grant funding.
All right? Yes.
You answered all the questions very, very well, every questions that came in, but there are a few questions that the audience would like to ask, if you don't mind.
Good evening. Vince Ferragino, 45 Parkway West, Mount Vernon, New York. I have a quick I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Yes. I have a quick rhetorical question, and then a specific today in Mount Vernon than we were 2 years ago? Are we better off in Mount Vernon today than we were 4 years ago? Now my specific question. This is for Kate McGleason, who is the incumbent council member, and then the other candidates to respond as well. Kate, on your watch, as both city council member and planning board member, close to 1,500 housing units downtown and on the Western Parkway, mostly lower income, have been green-lighted through massive zone changes and then passed on to the Mount Vernon IDA for massive pilots. Another 6 to 8 projects, totaling about 2,000 units, also mostly lower income, are in the pipeline for additional zone changes. This could mean an additional 6,000 to 8,000 residents, impacting our fragile infrastructure. At the same time, there is no job-producing, tax-producing, industrial, or commercial development. If you drive through Fleetwood today, if you drive through downtown, if you drive along Mount Vernon Avenue, the vacancy rates along those key industrial commercial corridors is between 15 and 20%. Ken, I'd like to know what your position on those projects you approve of, and then moving forward, what your position on the additional 6 to 8 projects that would basically develop another 2,000 units like this. First, I'd like Caitlin to answer the question, and then I'd like to hear from the other candidates.
Well, I think that there's a necessity for housing here in the city of Mount Vernon. I see it on a regular basis when I go to the soup kitchen. There are homeless people all over the place. There's not affordable places for them to live. So I stand behind. I'm not going to be an elected official that crawls away because of hard decisions that I made. I made decisions because I thought that they were a necessity for the city of Mount Vernon. So I'm fully accountable for that. And I fully support any new housing units that come into the city of Mount Vernon. Now you put a second part of it in there, commercial space. There has been nobody more active on city council. Maybe, I shouldn't say that. My whole city council has been active on it. But when it's come to commercial space being empty, I've tried to work hand in hand with these people. With people that were having trouble with landlords, with people that were having trouble meeting their rent, and trying to figure out how we can get them to a place where they could be successful, to draw business in, making sure that if I were do something for the soup kitchen, we would make sure that we would go to a local business to make sure that we supported them because they supported us. So, I mean, if the question is, do I support housing in the city of Mount Vernon? Absolutely, I support housing in the city of Mount Vernon. I already went through what I have done on planning to make sure that that was secure. Even asking for extra money from developers to make sure that public safety would be taken care of. And make sure that there was money put aside that would beautify Fleetwood Park, okay? Beautify the benches around Fifth Avenue. Put benches around Fifth Avenue, beautify the area. These are asks that we're asking for. You can shake your head, Mr. Ferrandino, but the reality is, I have asked for those things on planning board, and it's documented in the minutes. I've also asked developers when they've come in to make sure that they scope around their buildings, to make sure that the infrastructure could support the type of development that they place there. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Yes, I'll answer next. So, Mr. Farraduna's first question was, are we better off today than we were 2 years ago? And then the follow-up was, are we better off today than we were 4 years ago? So, I want to be politically correct and say it depends, right? It depends on what we're looking at, what we're assessing, and how you view what's better off. In most circumstances, I would say no, we are somewhat more deficient, right? And in others, I'll say there's absolutely room for improvement. In regards to the projects being approved by the planning department from me speaking here earlier tonight, I do not agree with any more residential development coming in, right? We have to address why the county or other municipalities are sending all the homeless people down here, right? We have a severe situation going on with homelessness, right? We are helping the homeless, but should we be rebuilding and building more residential facilities to accommodate homelessness? That's just saying yes, the county, yes, other municipalities, send there a housing area for homelessness, send all the homeless folks here. And I don't agree with that. We must take care of the homelessness that we have here now, but we shouldn't do anything to attract any more homelessness. We don't have the infrastructure to facilitate any form of residential buildings here currently, and so we should not move forward with any. I don't believe or don't agree with providing these big businesses, these commercial businesses with pilot programs. Pilot programs should go towards non-for-profits that definitely need it, not these money-making businesses.
I'll be very brief. I continue to say that I support smart development, development that is good for the city. We cannot forget those that need housing. We need to provide proper housing for everyone. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So we cannot leave these underserved people that need a place to live without a place to live. So we need to take each development one at a time, evaluate as to where it could be placed, and continue building Mount Vernon, because this is what's going to happen. Yes, we need to pay attention to our infrastructure, but once that comprehensive plan takes place, we're going to be as great as the developments that have happened in Yonkers, the development that has happened in New Rochelle, because we need it. We need it here in Mount Vernon. We can't stay the way we are. So I support a smart development.
Next candidate, Cynthia Turnquist.
While walking, a lot of the residents that live here in Mount Vernon spoke about where they came from Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan. And they also spoke about Mount Vernon being like one of the last frontiers because they are unable to afford other places to reside, and how much they love living here in Mount Vernon. So housing and development is needed, and we do know that. But we have to evaluate on how we do that, and we have to also look at it being a smart way of doing it. I go and get my hair done in Mount Vernon, and around the corner from there, which is right off of where Grace Baptist Church is, there's some townhouses that were just built inside of a vacant lot. And so that vacant lot is better today than it was yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Nick, Mr. Giorgio.
To the first question, if we're better off than we were 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I want to say I think we're worse off. We have less police officers, we've closed the schools, we're not collecting our taxes, we haven't completed our audits, and we sent $500,000 off to a scammer who scammed the city. I don't think we're better off. As far as the additional housing units go, we've spoke about this at length. I think responsible development is needed in the city. But what we have to stop doing is accepting these vouchers from other communities like New York City that send their vulnerable populations to Mount Vernon to become our issue to deal with, and they don't send any funding to deal with it. We have enough of a vulnerable population in Mount Vernon of our own Mount Vernon people that we need to take care of first before we take care of every other community's population. So any buildings that go up, I don't think should be accepting any vulnerable people from other communities. That's just my opinion on that. So, like everyone else, pretty much agrees with responsible development. I'm all for it, but not these residential pilots that do nothing.
Next, Bill Schwartz.
I spoke to a lot of residents, and maybe life is good for some people, but maybe ones who live in Mount Vernon for so long, it hasn't been good for them the last few years. With everything that was said here, trees falling down, taxes being raised, you know, that's what happens when they get away from us, the residents. That's what happens when they stop listening to us. They forget our needs. Our needs should be the ones that should be addressed. We have restaurants closing, no more supermarkets. We can go on and on about how it is not better. And I'm gonna say, for some people, maybe it is better. We can't do pilot programs without having tax revenue here. Go into the Crayola building on the Western Parkway. You go up there, you find me one Mount Vernon resident up there. I was up there. No one's there who lives in Mount Vernon. I'm all for helping people. That's what we gotta do with each other. But not when they're just burdening us with other people's situations. We need to take care of our own, yes, but we need a plan to make sure that happens. Thank you.
To answer Ferdinand's question, we are worse off, and we're getting even worse.
That's right.
I don't agree with building any more low-income housing right now. I understand we have homeless people and all. Yeah, but you know what? We continue to build for everybody else to dump here in Mount Vernon. We are not building for the homeless that are here because we have enough housing places to put them down. We're building to bring in other people from outside. And I'm going to say this too, because, you know, y'all know me with my mouth. You know, some of us up here have to say these kind of things and agree with it because they're being funded by this very developers that's trying to get in here. And buildings. I don't hold my tongue and I tell you this straight out. I'm against it because of the simple fact because I know what the impact is and I'll break it down to you. I even fought Mayor de Blasio. You can go and Google it, the New York Times, the Post and all, and I threatened to sue them about using the solar program to dump people here in these buildings. That Crayola building that they call it, Matchbox building, Checker building, that is a low-income building with 20% mentally handicapped and mentally ill people in that building. Why would we keep on dumping those people here? This is the whole bigger rest of the county. The federal government sued the rest of the county. Nobody still wants to build it. But we keep doing it because we want it. The few people that are doing it want to keep collecting their developers fee and that money and just keep getting rich while we get poorer. I'm going to break it down to you real quick like this. Let's say we got four people here. Take 4 people. We're going to build more and bring in 4 more people. You have $1, 25 cents each. Now you bring in 4 more people, you get 12, you get 12 and a half cents each in service. Now we go ahead and build another building and bring 8 people in here. Now we break it down, you get 6.5 or 6.25% service. How long is it going to be before you get 0 services that we're getting now? We're heading in the wrong direction.
Thank you so much.
Let's change that. I say no.
Thank you for choosing to run, to offer yourself a public service. I know it's a sacrifice. Can't hear you. Okay, good evening. Thank you for running. I know that it's a sacrifice. Thank you for offering yourselves. I do have a question. It's a 2-part question. With that said, why are you running? And tell us how you would be different than what we have today. And I just wanted to piggyback off of a question with regard to pilots. I know a lot of people pass the baton saying that the council doesn't have a vote on pilots. However, at one point the council did have a vote at the IDA. The council president sat on the IDA, just like the council president sits on the URA. Would you request that the bylaws are amended so that the council president can sit on the IDA and have a vote, and that vote would be the will of the council? Oh, well, guess we have, I know time is far spent, but I didn't want to single anyone out. But that would be my question, those would be my questions. What are you doing that would be different than what is being done currently? How would you be different, and would you be amenable to having the bylaws of the IDA amended so that the council president sits on the IDA with the vote that the council would have? Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. From one deputy city clerk to the next. Okay, so why am I running? I'm running because I have worked in City Hall for like 5 years, right? I started off in the law department, then I moved over to the city clerk's office as a deputy city clerk and the city clerk. So I know City Hall inside and out. I know the red tapes, I know how to cut through the red tapes. I know what works and what need to be better, right? If you have ever interacted with me, right, I'm like the Gestapo or at City Hall, right? I am telling everyone what the charter says and what can be done and what cannot be done, right? And so I am running because I have a passion. I've lived here for 17 years. I'm not planning to go anywhere, right? I started off by being on the Library Foundation Board. I was the president of the Library Foundation Board. And then I'm also a district leader. I've been a district leader for 13 years. And I'm also a board of directors member for the Youth Bureau. I've always participated in trying to improve Mount Vernon. This is my way of helping to improve Mount Vernon by being a member of the council. I know I can make a significant positive impact, right? I know how to draft legislation. I know how to implement legislation. I know how to work with the departments to make sure the legislations are working for the community. So that's why I'm running. I am fully vested in Mount Vernon and invested in Mount Vernon. Of course, thank you, Deputy City Clerk Carter. Yes, I am absolutely amenable to getting the City Council back on the 5-member board for the IDA. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Alvaro Castillo?
Yes, hi. Thank you for the question. I am running for the right reasons. I love the city of Mount Vernon. I've lived here for a very long time. I've planted my roots here, and I want to see this city move forward. And the way we're going to do this is not by blaming, bad-mouthing, fighting. We need to work together as a team. We need to make sure that that the mayor's accountable. We hold the mayor accountable. We hold all the city departments accountable. We're not here to rubber stamp anything. I am not looking for anything other than to serve the city. I've been doing it through my nonprofit, and I will continue to do it, even if I become a city council member. Make sure I give back to the community. We're here to serve the community. This is not a position to rubber stamp anything. What affects you affects me. And so I am doing it because I know that with proper accountability, transparency, we can work together and make Mount Vernon the Mount Vernon that it needs to be. But we need to work together. We cannot work bad-mouthing and stopping things from happening. That's not the way to make progress. Not here, not now. Not with this government that we have. We need to work together as a community. We cannot have this. We will not move this city forward if we continue to work with animosity and not sitting at the table as adults and saying, this is the best thing for the city. This is what we can do for the city. And that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Cynthia Tranquist?
Thank you. So I do agree with your suggestion in the aspects of the bylaws being changed so someone can be on there. Thank you for that suggestion. I am a 56-year-old resident here in Mount Vernon. I believe in Mount Vernon, and we are not broken, but we are bruised. And we are also ready, and we need leadership with vision and discipline. I've also supported real change here in Mount Vernon as a person that has hosted Let Girls Learn Days here for girls in Mount Vernon for 9 years straight in Mount Vernon Public Library. I've also given out $35,000 plus of brand new books from Disney during the height of COVID because I know that reading is fundamental. In addition to partnering with the Boys and Girls Club and hosting Mount Vernon Reads Days during COVID, making sure that children had a book to read because it was assumed that they had books to read. Last but not least, I understand our challenges. I understand high taxes as a homeowner. I also understand looking at vacant buildings. I drove my aunt down 4th Avenue the other day and we started counting the stores that were closed. It's real. And I am here for solutions. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next we'll have Nick Master Giorgio.
Okay, why am I running? Everything I am is because of the city of Mount Vernon. Like I said earlier, my family was back in this city for over 100 years. We've given over 100 years of service to this city, and I'm disgusted in the direction that the city is going, and I want to get on the council and do it different. I want to do it right. What makes me different? I believe in checks and balances. I don't intend to go on the council and be part of a go-along to get along crew. I fully expect to be a voice of reason, a transparent voice, let the people of Mount Vernon know what's going on. And anybody that's followed me for any length of time knows that I'm not afraid to speak my mind when the situation calls for it. And that's exactly what I intend to do. And that's why I think I'll be different than anybody that's on the council right now, because I don't think we have that. Last but not least, as far as the amendment to the charter goes, I am absolutely 1,000% in favor of it, but I think you mentioned it only if the person sitting on that IDA from the council does the will of the council. What those 5 people vote on is what the president of the council would have to vote on in the IDA. Thank you.
Why am I running? Because it's us. We're residents. We've been here too long watching the wrong thing be done because it's not that hard to do what's right. We need to, I'm an independent. I probably don't have a filter for most people. But you know what? I'm not backed by Rise Up, Lift Up, or whatever those people are. I'm not backed by them. We don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to back us. You know why? It's us. They can have their hundreds of thousands of dollars, spending whatever they want just to stay in place for a reason. There's a reason why they're doing this. There's a reason. We are independent. We're us. We're residents. They can't buy our vote. That's one thing they can't take away from us. I'm here for us. I'm here for the families. I'm here because we need to go in a different direction. And I think that Bill Schwartz 9A is the way to start it off. We can start from the ground up and do things right because things have not been done right. That's pretty obvious. The smoke and mirrors only got to go so far. It's enough. Let's go. Let's vote for who you see here because we will make the change. Look at what's been done. It needs to be done differently. It needs to be done right. Thank you.
Next we have Andre Wallace.
It's simple. I'm running because I can. I'm running because I'm just like you guys. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing what's going on. Right now, Mount Vernon, we have gone down the wrong road for a long time. And we need to turn it around. And people always disagree and they say, oh no, it's wonderful. It's not working. If it was working, we would not be broke. We would not be starving for services. We would not be reaching out for handouts and everything else. We have to start to work together to make sure that our community moves forward like every other community. And we need to start to focus and have the right people in place that know where to bring in the dollars and how to bring our community up. Right now, I did a job a few years ago doing sidewalks. We did 20 miles of sidewalks around Westchester County, from Rye to Portchester. All those new sidewalks you see in Portchester and right up there, my company did those sidewalks. And when I spoke to DOT and I said, why have we not done anything in Mount Vernon? It's because they said, we never asked. We never filled out paperwork and we didn't do anything to get our sidewalks complete. This is going on, and I'm telling you from experience and what I've seen for a fact. Investigate. But these are things that we need to do. We need to see ourselves better than what we see ourselves, because we are better. We are much better than this. We are tired. I am so tired of being the tail. I want to be the head now. Westchester, we have the best piece of property in all of Westchester. We're doing nothing with it. It's time to change that dynamic and start to focus on the things that we can do and build the right way, develop the right way. And yes, according to the IDA, we should have somebody sitting on that IDA. Just as well as there should be somebody from the school board sitting on there. They finally got somebody there. And all the other places that has interest. But when you have all of those different parties, then people can say, hey, wait, when you put that building up, it affects us. We're not getting any school dollars for our children. Or we're not getting this, or we're not getting that. We need to do a better job of figuring out, and studying how we make money and how is it profitable for the people that's here, so we don't have to pay the taxes and they can be offset by the right project, the right development here in our community.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go with the second question first. I would definitely advocate for that. I think that's a great idea, but only if it was a voting position. Otherwise, it's not worth it. I feel like the school is given an opportunity to be there, but they don't have a voting right. So if the council president has a voting right, then I would totally support it. Why am I running for city council? I'm running for city council. I think I said it from the very beginning. I was doing the work way before I became an elected official. My whole family has been supporting the city of Mount Vernon in service for more than 50 years. My brother, my husband, my brother-in-law, all police officers here in the city of Mount Vernon. My father served as fire commissioner of Mount Vernon, and my mother was the registrar at one point. This is a legacy for me. I am raising my daughter here. I had an opportunity to move. My daughter wanted to stay. She wants to stay. I want to stay. I want to continue the work that I've started. I started the work when I was 13 years old, when my parents took us to the Democratic Party, sat stuff in envelopes. That's where my history comes from here in the city of Mount Vernon. Now, when people say go along to get along, I don't want you to get confused. Collaboration is not go along to get along. Collaboration is exactly what it is, collaboration. There have been plenty of disagreements, but what our community wanted when I first ran in 2021, they wanted to stop the chaos. They wanted to stop the chaos. So with that being said, when people don't argue on social media or in front of a camera, they think that you're not disagreeing with people that are in leadership. There has been plenty of disagreement. There's just been respect across three branches of government. So, I'm Caitlin Gleason, I'm 4A. I would love for you to vote for me because you know that I'm accessible and you can contact me at any time. Even the people who've gone against me have picked up the phone and asked for help, and I've always helped.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to have our last question for the evening.
Hello, my name is Sabrina Powell from 914 Lock. If you ever see the RV in Hartley Park, that's us. We're very intentional about being a safe space for youth. So one of my questions is, how intentional will you be as council persons to provide, in Mount Vernon, we actually have more marijuana dispensaries than we have youth facilities, and that shouldn't be. So how intentional would you be with making sure Mount Vernon actually have a community space for youth? Mount Vernon does have the Boys and Girls Club, but as far as a community space, how would you be as far as advocating for that? And then when it comes to 4th Street and Bremerton Avenue. I'm not from Mount Vernon, but Mount Vernon on 4th Avenue, it looks about 1976. When you get up to Bremerton Avenue, it looks maybe 1987. And then when you go to Fleetwood, you're hitting the 90s. Why can't we be more intentional when it comes to preserving the space, the legacy? I guess that's what's happening there, to preserve the legacy from back in 1970, but improving the space for the business owners to be able to run more business patrons in. Thank you.
I'll start. If that's okay? Would that be okay? Yeah. Is that okay? So I think, Sabrina, I think you're absolutely right. I think 4th Avenue does not look good, and I think that the city of Mount Vernon has to put together more standards for storefronts that are consistent. And when you go into Fleetwood, you'll see that certain property owners make sure that all their stores have the exact same signs, right? We have to encourage other people to do the same thing. And how do we do that? Maybe through a CDBG grant, and make sure that certain money is allocated for the small business owner for signage that is consistent with the standards that we set forth. As it pertains to youth space, we have been asking developers that have been coming into the city of Mount Vernon that have just made presentations, not actually put applications in. We said, what type of community space are you going to allow to the city of Mount Vernon? And that's been a constant conversation, So that's what I've been doing as a city council person. I was doing it as a planning board member also. I think one of the things we need to do more is engage our fire department, our police department, and start having Friday night rec nights, especially in the wintertime where the kids have nowhere to go, and start going into the library, opening the library. We did that a few times when I was library trustee, having game nights. Going into the churches, asking each church, not just one, every church to open their door on a Friday, Saturday night so the youth of the community have a space to congregate. But not only that, we have to get sponsors for this too, because what are they going to come into a room like this, and what are they going to do? Serena, you've done an incredible job creating a space with that RV, having games and stuff like that. We have to figure out a way how we could do that in a space like this. Thank you.
Thank you for making me so sad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to lighten up our discussion here. All right, so Sabrina, thank you for the question, right? As some of you may know, I am a strong advocate for the youth. I've been on the youth board of directors since 2012. Took a break when I went to law school, came back and jumped right back into it, right? So I'm all for the youth. I know I was having a conversation about how can we get some type of sponsorship or partnership in getting a building, getting a building for the youths to learn trade, right? I worked on Wall Street where we have I was at a hedge fund where you have the trading floor. We need to teach the young kids how to trade, right? I can most certainly partner with some of the firms that I work with to come in. They did that as a part of their public service initiative. So they most certainly, I can partner with them to come in and teach training to our youths. I'm sure they're going to be interested in that. Also, healthcare. There's a new initiative with the board of the Youth Bureau Board of Directors, thanks to Ms. Lightsey, who sits on the Mount Vernon Montefiore Hospital Board. She got some of the Youth Bureau students, members, to participate in a healthcare training. So getting a building and getting some type of job corps training, healthcare, and other training certification program going for youths is definitely a part of my plan. I'm all for helping the youths thrive and grow. As far as 4th Avenue, Bremerton Avenue, Fleetwood, preserving the legacy, getting them up to date, not letting them making it look like it's the 1980s and 1990s. We need to work with. Okay.
Thank you so much.
advocate of youth space. Our young children need a place to entertain themselves, to get together and stay out of trouble. As far as the Brampton and the North End and South End, we're one number. And it's a perception that we have that if we're on the South looks worse than North End. It's all how you perceive and the pride that you have in your community or in the space that you're in. I remember Mayor Davis saying a long time ago, it was fighting to take off those gates because the gates indicate that there's danger, that maybe someone will break in. And then when you go to Brampton on the north side, there's no gates. I said, but let's try it without the gates. Let's show everyone that we're one Mount Vernon, and that if we have pride and take care of our storefront and enforce legislation and the ordinance that are in place, that the whole Mount Vernon can look much better. So it's a collaborative effort. It's the business owners and the citizens that need to put, make sure that the city looks a lot better. And I definitely think that having a youth space and a community space for our children is definitely beneficial.
Thank you, Cynthia Turnquist.
So y'all know I'm all about the children. I'm educated for 28 plus years. Sabrina, I know that a partnership with the Youth Bureau as well as the Recreation Department and making that come alive. When I was on the board for the Youth Bureau, there was a booklet that was put together with activities and programs for the youth here in Mount Vernon. There's another organization, it's actually Cupcake Beauty Boutique. They have a thing that's called Black Girls Who Bake, catering to little girls and making sure that they have something to do. As far as a facility, there's 3 schools that's getting ready to close. Period. Revitalization of 4th Avenue and other places. The comprehensive plan is finished with phase 1. And that means that there are suggestions as to what should take place here in Mount Vernon. It's not finalized because it has to go to phase 2. But just to let you know, in that comprehensive plan, there's like a 40-block suggestions of 40 blocks of what should happen here in Mount Vernon. And I want to add on that it's looking at marketplace, not outlets. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, obviously, I would definitely advocate for a space for our youth. You know, we lose far too many of our youth to the streets, and when I was a kid growing up in Mount Vernon, we had things like Caitlin mentioned, rec night at the high school. We were getting dropped off at Rush Park 3 nights a week to play baseball. We had a ton of things for kids to do, and I think Mount Vernon is lacking that right now. And while I was out there getting signatures, and Cynthia touched on this one, Sabrina was right next to me getting signatures for a petition to help get one of those schools to be a place for the youth and to have a youth center there. So I'm 100% for that. And you know, another thing we can do is we need to get our police officers engaged with the youth. When I was a kid, I think half the Little Leagues, the coaches were police officers. The problem we have now is that those police officers aren't here long enough to coach a season of baseball in the Little League. They leave and they're gone. So, you know, when I was head of the PBA, I started programs working with some of the churches to get our officers engaged in the community. And it didn't last because the cops kept leaving. So I would love to start a program to get the cops involved with the youth, whether it's a rec night, basketball, Little League, coaching, but we need to make sure those people stay here. And it also helps because they grow up and they get to know our youth from being kids, and then they feel comfortable with the police. So I think that is one way we can really focus on helping our youth. And as far as the Bremerton Avenue and 4th Avenue corridors, I've spoken about that at length. I believe 4th Avenue should be blocked off and we should develop that area with bars, restaurants, and things for people to do and make a pedestrian area out there and modernize it. You're 100% right. People come to film movies set in the 70s in Mount Vernon for that specific reason. It looks like the 70s. So we need to develop our downtown area. That is top priority number one. It brings in money and makes our city look more attractive.
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to the youth, I don't look at it at a political point of view. I look at it as a people point of view. We drive around the city. How many ghost homes, burnt down homes that we see here? Stores too. We have it all to do things for the youth. My daughter just graduated. She's headed to surgery. She got an award for community service. She started a club in her school. She got 3 contractors to come develop people's houses who was in disrepair, water, fire. And she got them together to donate everything you needed to donate to help that family out. We don't need a lot of talking, we need a lot of doing. Because my daughter always watched me with the neighbors and with the children. I didn't realize she went in there and she did the same thing. That's what we have to do now. We got to do it, stop over talking. Let's just do it, because we have everything available for us. It's not done because nobody wants to do it. There's no other way to look at it. Thank you. Bill Schwartz, 9-8.
When it comes to youth, most people already know that I've done so much for the youth. I took a building from here in Mount Vernon, I renovated the building on my own dime, and I put programs together, created the first credited construction school in Mount Vernon. And we then graduated over 1,500 kids that are in union jobs, Con Ed jobs, they're all over the place. So I've always been for our youth. I've always worked to develop the youth because that is our tomorrow, and we have to do that the right way. When it comes to 4th Avenue and places like that, we know we have to fix it up. It's not a hard fix. We just have to know what we're doing. People, like I said, are not coming to fill those empty storefronts and all those empty houses until we start to clean up the place, until we start to make it presentable. Nobody wants to come in looking like that because you're not going to get your business clients to come in until we get that. If you're not feeling safe in a place, how are you going to ever attract people to come there? Especially in the winter time when the sun is down at 4:30. It's going to be difficult for people to come in there. We need to start to look at a lot of innovative ways on how we can do business here, how we can even do more for the youth. Okay? And I've known I've done this for a long time, not only in Mount Vernon, because I've helped Newburgh and many other cities. That is why I'm probably the only one up here that got the Presidential Achievement Award from the White House this year. Matter of fact, last year for President Biden for community service. So these things is something that's second nature to me, because we have to make a difference for those that's coming behind us, just like those that was before us, that we stand on their shoulders to be here today. And if we don't do it correctly, we're going to have a problem with our youth, and we're going to have a problem with our city, and it's going to continue to go on and on and on until we change the way we do things. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. We'll turn over for closing remarks.
First of all, this is a very informative forum that we've had tonight. I think everyone will agree. And the greatest city I think we'll be fortunate as we go forward in our decision making. We have a great task ahead of us. But I think one that you've given us a lot to work with tonight in terms of making that decision. I will see how we can move. Thank you so much. And I know you guys have been sitting all night, so if you can stand up, we can give you another round of applause.